Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. OTAs start today. Theoretically, the Niners had a practice today. Things happened. Theoretically, Sam Darnold and Trey Lance competed today, and coaches are watching film right now. It was close to the media, but Larry and I will be there tomorrow, charting, watching, judging. It's going to be a lot of fun. Larry, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Fired up. Can't wait to get down there. It's the first time we're going to get to see kind of the remade Trey and this awesome Hall of Fame quarterback that they've brought in to compete with him. Can't wait to see it. Everybody loves him.
The greatest thrower in franchise history. Can't wait to see this.
Greatest thrower. I may even have to go up to Mayoko and say, do you know that we're in the presence of greatness?
I know. We're not worthy. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got to talk about what we're going to do today. Instead of sort of making a case of why one quarterback is better than the other, we're going to do best case scenarios for all three. And I think it's going to be a fun exercise, just like how good do we think each of these guys could be if everything breaks their way. But we'll save that for later. We'll start with some rule changes. This came down today. There was an owners meeting. Jed was there along with the other 31 owners. First of all, they approved flex scheduling for Thursday night games, 24-8. One of the 24 owners who voted for this was Jed. And the idea is, every team has one Thursday night game in their schedule and they hate it. Well, now at any given time, they could have another one as long as it's not a second one on the road. They just need 28 days notice and the NFL can do this whenever they want. And, owners will profit. And so will Jed. What do you think?
I think Jed voted for it because somebody told him, you know what? Hey, owners, all you guys need to vote for this because this will put more money in your pocket. And that's what it's about. Yeah, it's about, Hey, you know what? If they got Bengals, Browns, and that's some dog meat game in December, and the Niners are sitting there with some really attractive game, but it's going to be played at, 1:00 in the afternoon on Sunday, they want to flex that bad boy into the national TV prime time and make more money. And Jed's like, wait a second, I'm going to make more money. So the check that you're going to send me at the end of the year, which is already incredibly fat, is now going to be fatter because if I vote this way, yep, it will be. Oh, okay. Where do I vote? Yep. There. Bing. Click.
Yeah.
I vote for it.
And I wonder, it wouldn't necessarily be a competitive disadvantage for the Niners. They already have two on their schedule, Thursday night games. If they were to get a third one, you'd be like, wow, that's overkill. But it would have to be a home game. And usually the home team is at a big advantage in those Thursday night games. So maybe it works out for them. It feels like the NFL wouldn't do that to the Niners, a third. But then again, if Jed voted for it, maybe he wants it.
Now, you said something there. Is that true? It has to be a home game?
You can't have two Thursday night away games because, again, the home road disparity of those Thursday games is drastic.
Right. Huge.
So so if you could have three Thursday night games with two of them being at home, but not two of them being on the road. Can't have two road Thursday night games. It's not fair.
Okay. Yeah. No, well, there you go. To me, that's really the rub. You've seen the numbers. The team that hosts on Thursday night has a huge chance to win. So like the Niners play the Giants, I believe, in week 3. That's a Thursday nighter, but it's at Levi's. So it's a little bit more stomachable.
They usually have those Thursday night games be teams that are close to each other. Because the home road thing is so drastic, they try to minimize the travel. Because if it's a cross country game, the team that has to travel is screwed right away.
They try to make it like proximity fairness.
Yeah. Otherwise, why even show up? Like just take the loss and move on.
Oh, I know. And especially if you're playing like the Niners played a Thursday Thanksgiving night game in Baltimore, but Ravens are a great home team. And of course, the Ravens won. That was years ago, of course. Harbaugh.
Moving on with more rule changes. The NFL approved a new rule allowing a third active quarterback. He's an emergency quarterback. He has to be on the 53-man roster. He becomes like an extra active player. Instead of getting 45 active players, you get 46 or 46 to 47. It's just an extra active player. And he can't play special teams. Can't do anything else. You can't have like Taysom Hill sneaking in playing running back as an emergency guy. He can only play if the other two guys get hurt. If someone comes back, he can't play anymore. So it's just basically the 49ers rule. This scenario never happens. But if the Niners ever get in this predicament again, Sam Darnold can play.
Yeah, well, once again, we'll call this the NFL rule. NFL carves out more cash for themselves rule. I mean, that's really
Right.
what, if they had
Right.
somehow looked at the numbers and saw that, man, it was so intriguing to the audience that one team didn't have a quarterback and so many more millions of people tuned in for it, they probably don't make this rule. But because they probably looked at their numbers and saw that outside of San Francisco and Philadelphia, TV sets were going off all across the world, and that game didn't do as well in quarters 2, 3, and 4 as it should have. They're like, oh, hell yes, we're changing this rule. Absolutely. So yeah, it's another rule to guarantee that they make more money, but it's also a good rule because last year the NFC Championship game was the biggest waste of time ever. I mean, that was probably the worst football game I've ever watched because the Niners' chances of winning it went out 6 plays into the game. It's a lot of bad football.
I can you explain to me why there are inactive players in the first place? I don't even get it. Why?
Why not have 53 guys?
Yeah.
Why is it 45?
Why? Doesn't make any sense to me.
It's just the way it's always been, and they just feel like they want to keep it that way. But yeah, I mean, with specialists being a bigger part of the game than ever before, you would think they would up that number a little bit, right?
I would make it like, okay, we got one more quarterback. Like, yeah, like how about just have 53-man rosters? It's so weird. But
it is weird.
Good.
It's like, okay, you're on the roster, but you're not really on the roster.
Who does that serve? Or does it mean they have to pay out fewer game checks? If you're inactive, do you get less money? Like, I don't think so. No,
I don't think
so. Get a
so
game check
either.
What's the point?
I don't think so either. I do.
Save anyone money?
I don't. Is it about the integrity of the competition? Do they want to make it the same that it's always been, so they can say that football hasn't changed and they compare it? But to me,
do they do inactive rosters in college? Inactive players in college, or is it just like 80 dudes on the sideline? No,
like 90 guys. I don't even think I don't think there's an in season or out of season. I think it's just a 90-man roster.
There should be 90-man rosters in the NFL. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
As long as the
minor league, there should be 90-man rosters. Come on.
As long as it's equal, I'm fine with it.
It's fine.
But and to me, if we're really gonna care about that, we can't say over here we care totally about the players, but then over here, oh, you know what? We don't want to increase the number of bodies taking these hits. So either one's lip service or the other's lip service.
Baseball teams have like 12 pitchers.
And
why can't football teams have 12 quarterbacks?
Taxi squads and minor leagues and
they're just cheap. These owners. Well, at least they're going to be profiting from more Thursday night football games. Great, good for them. Always rooting for the billionaires to get a few more money, a few more dollars.
I personally would love to see the NFL go to a 20-game schedule, but just up the rosters. Up the roster size. The money is absolutely coming in left and right. You got all this new gambling money rolling in.
It's a good point.
And people want to see it. But the NFL is kind of caught in between, Grant, the mom and pop roots of its origins and this corporate thing that it's heading towards. And it's like there's still little inconsistencies there.
Just expand it to like 50 teams. No, it's not enough good quarterbacks. You can't do it. You can't do it. If there were more good quarterbacks, you could do it. But oh well.
How about this though? Then at least if you go Thursday, Sunday, it's not a big deal because you got guys that you can use on Thursday that you didn't use on Sunday.
That's a good point.
Already we start to see that, by the way.
More jobs, more games.
Go look at the names of the players that are inactive on Thursday, and then look at those same teams the previous Sunday or the following Sunday, and you'll see that that's where teams start to use their depth is in the Thursday, Sunday trade-off. Well, we'll play them Thursday, but we'll sit them Sunday. We'll play them Sunday, but we'll sit them Thursday. And that's what they're already doing.
Here's my problem with Thursday games. I feel like they're just for fantasy football people, diehard fans, and gamblers.
Yeah.
They're usually terrible games. What's the best Thursday night football game you can remember all time?
Seriously.
They usually suck.
They are usually awful. They're division games. And not only that, even if it's good matchups, it's people are like, well, it's not always good matchups. It's not even about the matchups. Even if it's good matchups, you still get these lousy games.
Football games, no game plans, just super vanilla. Players getting hurt. It's like, it's terrible.
It's bad.
And I just don't see how that. But I mean, I guess I'll put it on. I mean, I'll have it in the background just to have something on television, but I can't say I enjoy it. I don't know. Whatever.
It's definitely not putting your best foot forward. I mean, and then the players hate it and the coaches hate it. and it becomes this huge stress on everybody. Can you rest up and get off your feet? And yeah, it's not good.
I could
And
understand if the product was great.
Right.
It's primetime games that everyone loves. Like, no, they suck.
They're awful. It's just a way to keep people in the casinos, probably a way to keep people wagering on it, fantasy to some degree.
And what kills me too,
they commandeer another night of the schedule. That's it.
Which is smart. Kills me though is Richard Sherman back in the day, when he was a man of principle. He would rail against Thursday Night Football, how bad it was. Now he's an analyst on Thursday Night Football. Funny how life goes, huh? I mean, exactly. That could be me one day too. I could be that hypocrite. I'm not taking a shot at Richard Sherman. All right, let's talk OTAs. We're going to get to quarterbacks in a minute.
You'll be the Thursday night commentator?
No. There's way too much in my past, man. I'm never getting past that Kinlaw thing. Corporate? No, never happened for me. Sorry. Okay. We're going to do quarterbacks in a minute. I'm going to take some questions in a minute. I know you guys want what you guys want to ask. I don't want the show to go off the rails just yet because that's drama, and we'll get to the drama, but not too much. I want to talk football. I want to talk OTA. It's going to be tomorrow. I don't want to talk quarterbacks just yet. So which player do you think is going to make the biggest jump this year? There's always a guy, that year 2, year 3 jump where you look at him and you're like, man, he looks like a totally different person.
Wow. Biggest jump from year 1 to year 2.
It could be year 2 to year 3.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go year 1 to year 2.
Well, I think Kalia Davis is the guy that I saw at the end of last year that I thought, wait until the fans see this guy, because he's 300 pounds and he moves like a linebacker. And when you have a 300-pound guy that can move like that, those guys sack the quarterback. They make big plays. His college film was awesome. Kalia Davis, I would say, would stand out. And the other guy is Womack. There were so many times last year that Womack got his fingers on a ball and then just didn't catch it. Well, this year, with more cut-up film watching, more recognition, more experience in the defense, a little bit more knowledge, he'll play a little faster. I expect him to take some of those back for 6.
Cool. Those are good ones. I'm not assuming that any young player makes a leap, but if I had to guess which one will, I'm going to go with Spencer Burford. There's a lot of hand-wringing about Spencer Burford, a lot of questions. He wasn't great last year, but I think another way to look at it is, I mean, he was a lot better as a rookie than Aaron Banks was. He had to move from left tackle to right guard, and he actually had a better rookie season than Drake Jackson.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Started all
Drake
year.
Jackson just kind of disappeared. Burford was battling and playing most of the game. He didn't play all of all the snaps, but he played most of them as a rookie. I think this guy looks like a real pro. I mean, he took that job immediately. I mean, that was pretty impressive for a 4th-round pick. I think Burford is going to come in with his head on straight and look like a stronger version of him. He's like 35-inch arms. This guy has special dimensions for a guard. I think he's going to be the guy.
I think that's a good call. I was just talking to Raj from RSF 49ers, and he had gone to that kickball game that they had yesterday. And so he had a chance to go see Spencer and some of the players, and he said Burford looked incredible.
Boom! That's what I'm saying.
He said he looked bigger and stronger, better shape. And that Spencer said to Raj, man, I've been working. Spencer's got it all, man. That was an incredible draft choice because this kid is smart and he's the physical prototype.
Yup.
I mean,
and it's, again, arms, nothing against Banks, but Banks wasn't quite ready. Like they were like, he had to go back to his original position. He had to change his body. Like Burford he was a left tackle who walked in to OTAs and started at right guard because Brunskill was hurt, kept the job. Like, that's a real pro. And he was like 21, 22. I'm betting on this kid. I'm not even going to call him a kid. I'm betting on this guy. I think he's going to look like a grown man tomorrow. I'm glad Raj said that. Shout out Raj.
Yeah, Burford. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, in a year where the Seahawks got an awful lot of credit for Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross and bookend tackles, the Niners put together bookend guards. Banks and Burford, I think, are going to be the Niner guard tandem for the next 5 to 7 years, maybe longer.
And I think the thing that stands out about Burford more than anything is his arm length. He almost has 35-inch arms. That's a big asset for anyone on the offensive line. Like, we like Joey Fisher and Jason Poe. Like, they don't have length like that. And this guy does. So he was young. If he could get a little bit stronger, because you do have to go against the strongest defensive players in the league playing guard. But that's the one. The question I have is Drake, because Drake didn't, just take a job the way Spencer Burford did. Drake had issues with, as all the coaches have said, they issues with strength and consistency. Like I feel like the light bulb has to go on for him where it already went on for Burford. So I'm curious to see what Drake looks like. We've talked about him though.
Yeah, I mean, Wilkes referenced him, and it's funny. Raj said he looked leaner. I was hoping that he was going to say he looked bigger and heavier, but he said he looked leaner. But either way, I mean, you got to be in great shape to play that spot, and they're leaning on him. And unless they're going to go sign another edge rusher, they're really leaning on him. So yeah, Jackson's huge. I'll throw one more name in there is Nick Sakel. Nick Sakel, Lynch shouted him out as the guy who's had a great offseason. He's 6'6", 315 pounds, and he's smart, and he's tough, and he's fierce, and he's a great competitor. He
tested a lot better than McKivitz did. No, I know not that means anything.
He could beat out McKivitz.
He might.
I'm eager to see how are we going to see anybody run with McKivitz? Is there anybody who's going to compete with McKivitz? Or is it just McKivitz's gig? And if it's Zakel, I think Zakel might be the guy who might have greater upside than McKivitz.
I think one of the things I'm most interested about tomorrow is just seeing how the offensive linemen are positioned, like who's playing where tomorrow. I'm really curious to see where the hell Zakel is. Because there's going to be a spot for him, I would imagine. They just won't tell us.
Right. And they've got some other Matt Pryor, Feliciano, is Poe at guard? Is he at center? This guy, Il Manning, looked really good in the minicamp, but he played left tackle at Hawaii. Is he going to play guard? Is he going to play center?
He plays center.
So I think I'm eager to see those guys. I'm also eager to see Braden Willis. I thought Braden Willis in the rookie minicamp looked incredible, and I'm eager to see, do they use him in multiple spots, or is he just a tight end or what? But he looked good to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners end up evolving into like a 2 tight end offense once Juszczyk's gone, because I think that's kind of where the league is going. It was like a spread offense, 3 wide receiver league for a while, but I think you see the Rams, they were a 2 tight end offense. A lot of teams are having success with 2 and 3 tight ends. You saw the Niners do it. Like you put 3 tight ends on one side of your line and run play action, that corner's screwed. He has to fill the E gap. He has to be like a run fill player, and then he just gets lost in coverage on play action. You saw teams doing that last year. I think you're seeing there's a reason why Niners drafted 2 tight ends. The Packers drafted 2 tight ends. Like that position is on the rise. Stock up. You're going to see that.
No question. And also, I think it's kind of interesting too, is that, Coletto can play fullback. Willis can play fullback. Juszczyk has almost had his roster spot kind of almost uncontested throughout his tenure in San Francisco. Do they want to challenge him for his roster spot, or are these guys?
I think it's his last year in the team. Hot take. I think it's his last year in the team.
I mean, it's getting up there. It looks like it. It looks like
him a lot.
Could be.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of younger guys who might be a little bit more dangerous in the passing. I don't know, but
cheaper. I mean, just cheaper
for sure,
and just as versatile, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this: guess how many carries Juszczyk had last year? If you had to guess,
6.
That's an awesome guess. He had 7. But I mean, I would have said,
it was a handful.
25. Instead, it was
like 7. Mike Allstott used to carry the freaking ball. Like he was a factor. Also coached by Bobby Turner in college. You know that? Purdue?
No,
that blew my mind. Know that. Bobby Turner. Yeah, that was this guy. And then he got hired by Mike Shanahan. He was so impressed. Anyway, I wanted to mention Jack Coletto, another guy. I bet you Bobby Turner saw something and it was a big reason they brought him in. I'm interested in Jack Coletto because any type of ball carrier the Niners sign as an undrafted free agent ends up being like a Pro Bowler. So I got to see that.
I asked Jack Coletto. I did an interview with him this weekend, and I asked him about Bobby T, and he's like, he's a character, man. He just started laughing. So Bobby T.
If he likes you, man, that's a good thing.
He's got all kinds of sayings, and he's got all kinds of philosophies, and he's truly old school. He is truly old school
for sure. It'd be an honor to be coached by him. I mean, God, I don't even know if these kids know. I'm gonna stop calling them kids, but I don't even know if they know their history. You know what I mean? Like this guy has coached Hall of Famers, and he thinks you have something special. That's pretty heady stuff.
Yeah, and they defer to him. So these running backs,
as they should,
these running backs and these fullbacks or anybody in the backfield at all, you get the stamp of approval from Bobby T. Otherwise, you're not in the room. You know what I mean? And then you also got Anthony Lynn there. Anthony Lynn is really, really respected running back coach in this league too.
Certainly.
So I mean, this is a good spot.
Bobby Turner fact. So he was at Purdue for a couple of years. Coach Mike Allstott went to the Broncos. Before then, he was at Ohio State. Coached Robert Smith. Bobby Turner. He's been running like I formation outside zone since like I was in diapers.
And you're not going to be able to convince him that your way is better than his way. You know what I mean? His way is tried and true.
He's been coaching this since Kyle Shanahan was in like 6th grade.
Right. I don't know. I wonder. Sometimes people ask Kyle questions about the running back usage, and I always wonder, does Kyle even have a say?
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Thank you. And I wonder, like, how important
is that? Of course, because that makes Kyle look like he's not really in charge. But I think Bobby T.
Agree.
Might be.
So we talk about the lack of a rotation. It might be on Bobby. You know? I don't know. But he's the best. And I thought it was interesting. Last year, he took a little time off to have a procedure. They started off 1-2. He was back by week 4. He is very important to them. And they made it seem like, oh, it was just always going to be week 4. It was like, I don't know about that. I kind of felt like you were 1-2. And Kyle's like, Bobby, please. Bobby, please. He's like 75 years old. Eventually, the Shanahan's are going to have to leave him alone, let him go. He's only worked for them in the NFL. I've never heard of something like that. It's amazing.
He's a lifer. Well, he worked for Alex Gibbs, right? And then he wasn't in Denver, or I guess for Shanahan. They all work for Shanahan, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's in the family.
Yeah.
In the family. Anyway. Okay.
And not only that, he's a super, like, some guys just know the X's and O's, but they don't know the players. This guy's got an eye for the talent. So it's like he's also says, you know what? I want that guy. I like that guy. I mean, look at their run of undrafted free agents under Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan. It's a nice list. And this year's guys are intriguing as well.
Yeah. And also, so we mentioned guys we didn't mention who's going to make the biggest jump this year. Ty Davis Price. I'm not so hopeful. That's a guy that I don't think Bobby Turner picked. Bobby Turner had a leave of absence when they were picking him, and that's why they brought in Anthony Lynn. So Ty Davis Price, don't know. Danny Gray, like to see it.
I mean, these guys were third-round picks, and guess what that gets you? 1 year on scholarship. They've had their 1 year. It's put up or shut up time. Yeah, I mean,
because Jordan Mason's good.
Yeah. Oh,
Mitchell's good.
I mean,
Labor's coming.
Yeah. I mean, and the numbers are, this team's going to have 3 quarterbacks. They're going to have a bunch of D linemen. There's a lot of young offensive linemen they like. They just invested in some young DBs. So guess what? That means it's probably only going to be 5 running backs, and one of them's Juszczyk. And McCaffrey, Mitchell, and Mason are, so really all these guys, Coletto, Ty Davis Price, Watt, Laborn, these guys might be battling for literally one spot. And at receiver, the same thing. I mean, Danny Gray may be battling six receivers for one spot.
Ronnie Bell, all these guys. It's like Ty
Ronnie
Davis
Bell
Price.
Looked great.
If you don't think they'll waive you, even because you were a 3rd-round pick, dude, go look at Trey Sermon. They will waive you. And everyone will applaud them for being, for not engaging in roster politics. Like, it's time. But you know what? Maybe it's a bad fit for him. Maybe. What was interesting, I was listening to Bobby Turner talk about.
They could trade him.
Yeah, they could. Well, he was talking about, a lot of people say, anyone can play in this outside zone system. Like, that is a total misconception. It is like a hand in a glove. It's a marriage. It has to be a good fit. So he might not be a good fit for this. Mason is. Mason's great. You got to have good vision because there's not like a defined track. Like if it's a power play and you're trying to kick out and block down, like you're just creating one hole. Vision isn't as important, but in outside zone, you could cut back. You could take it all the way to the edge. Like there's like different tracks. You got to be decisive. You have to have good vision, and not every running back can do it.
Well, I mean, and some of these guys like Trey Sermon had this pick and slide. But it's more like you go from pick and slide where you're kind of hunting for a hole to one cut and go.
Just one.
Put your leg in the ground and you got one chance to cut it and go.
Right.
You can't cut. You're not going to.
You don't need to do any of that.
Traffic. Nope. You're going to have to one cut and go kind of a back. I think they like Price because of the speed at 220, but. Right. So what? I mean, now you got
think
McCaffrey,
about it though. Like if
Mitchell.
you're running between the tackles, you need that pick and slide, right? Because you got linebackers coming from all over the place. But if you're running outside zone, you're getting to the edge of the defense. You don't need to pick and you just need to run really fast to a spot and then hit one cut and get the hell upfield. And that's why guys can be 200 pounds running this, because you're not running between the tackles per se.
But if you're tentative, it just crushes the
Tevin Coleman.
Or Sermon. I mean, Sermon was very, very tentative. And even Ty Davis Price at times shows, tentative. He's a little tentative. He's like tiptoeing through there. Yeah, I mean,
indecisive.
The guy that
Mostert was always decisive.
Mostert had unbelievable ability to just get to full glide in like 2 steps. But I'll tell you, this Laburn back looked really impressive to me. He caught a couple balls on the sidelines in the mini camp and made guys miss. He got up the field. He's kind of thick in the lower body. He's got tackle breaking ability. I think the running back competition is going to be good.
Okay. Name the player you think will have the biggest regression this year. No disrespect to any player that's watching, but we just went full on positive, and we got to make a prediction for the sake of sports analysis. So who do you think it's going to be?
Biggest regression. That's a great one.
Got to be someone. There's always someone.
Yeah, there always is somebody.
Last year it was Debo, frankly. He had a great 2021, came back down to earth. Maybe he bumps it back up. Or it could be someone old.
I'll take Tayshaun Gibson.
Me too.
Just because there's not this roster doesn't have a lot of old guys. That's one.
True.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Tayshaun, I think, had a really productive year intercepting passes. And he also, I thought, benefited from not having to play the full season. And I also just think that, he can play that deep middle as far as be a ball hawk in the deep middle. But as far as the other aspects of playing safety, I think there's a very good chance that Jair Brown's better than Gibson.
Blitzing, coverage,
anything in the box, hitting in the box, closing,
tackling.
But I mean, and playing man, like if they want to play any man coverages, I think Jair Brown's going to have more success playing man. I think Gibson's nice if you're going to play a ton of cover 3 and you want a deep center fielder ball hawk who when the ball's in the air, he's not just going to bat it down or get a finger on it. He's actually going to intercept it. That's Gibson, but
he's really good.
There's some weaknesses in his game, I think, beyond.
He's a split safety or a single high safety, but you don't really want him in the box. You don't really want him in man-to-man coverage. Yeah, and like the whole thing with Jair Brown is like he's supposed to be all of those things. So I'm with you. He's like also Tayshaun Gibson, no disrespect to him because he's had a great career, and I feel like people have been probably counting him out for the last 5 years. But he is like he'll be 33 in August. At a certain point, 33-year-old DBs, like it's kind of a obvious one to bet on. There's also Trent Williams getting up there, Eric Armstead, George Kittle. If any of those guys have a regression, the Niners are in trouble. So I'm not.
Juszczyk might be on my list.
Juszczyk, true.
Juszczyk.
It's a good one. It's a fair one.
And then I don't think I think there's going to be real regression from Warner and Dwelly, even though they're somewhat young players. But
if they even make the team,
I think they're going to be challenged for their roster spots this summer. I think it's going to be hard for those guys. And
then there's the question of Purdy. Does he play? Does he regress? Does he pick up where he left off?
The TBD on Purdy for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then maybe
Brendel?
Brendel? Brendel
could have been a flash in the pan. And if so, they got Feliciano. So they're covered.
I was going to say maybe Juwan, just from the standpoint, he doesn't run a great 40 time. And now he's had a couple of years in the league. And, he still should be ascending, but
we'll see.
I mean, I'll say this about the Niners. One thing about the Niners, they don't have a very old roster. There's most teams in football you can find 7, 8, 9 guys that you're like, you know what, they're probably not going to be as good this year. The Niners kind of move off of those guys. It's a really young, maybe Trent Williams. There could be some regression from Trent Williams.
That would be no good. Trent, we're counting on you. Okay, let's talk quarterbacks, and then I'll get to your comments at the end. Best case scenario for Brock Purdy's career. We've talked about what he can't do, although we don't really know because he started 8 games. Let's let our imaginations run wild. Best case scenario for Brock Purdy's career.
Russell Wilson.
Like?
Russell Wilson would be the best he could be. And when I say that, what I mean is, Russell. What's Russell's record against the Niners? 16-4, and in so many of those games, they just need how it seems like my recollection of these Seattle Niner games is that somehow the Niners defense gets into a situation in the fourth quarter where they have to stop Russell Wilson from getting a first down or two. Otherwise the game's over. And then he always gets those first downs and the game's over and he wins.
Yeah.
I just think when I saw Purdy slide last year and he kind of put the ball forward, I think it might even have been in the Seattle game. He's got a lot of Russell Wilson. He's got big hands, even though he's a smallish guy. He's a little thicker.
That is true. That's a good
stronger.
point. He has a nice pump fake like Russell Wilson. I'll give him that.
He does. He's got a little bit of Russell in that. Russell
does have a little bit
big arm, but Russell throws an accurate deep ball. Russell threw
the best deep ball.
Russell throws just drop it in the basket, kind of a deep ball, just perfect deep ball. But I think I don't think Russell has the greatest arm strength of all time, but he has big hands and he is athletic and he can make all kinds of, and Purdy reminds me of Russell in just like, you got to lead. It's the second half. You're trying to put the game away. Purdy seems like the kind of guy that would be really hard to stop from getting a first down.
A few first downs. Yeah.
Because he can use his feet. He can flick it. He's all these different arm motions, all this underneath stuff. So
he won't quit on the play. He's a playmaker. Yeah, I think
people say Breeze, but I don't.
I was going to go with Breeze. I was going to go with Breeze because to me, the arm is more similar. Like Russell did have a gorgeous deep ball. Like he could bomb that freaking thing down the field, and it would just go so freaking high. It was amazing. Like Breeze didn't necessarily have that arm, but he kept improving until he was like 27, 28. But by the time he was that age, he became like just the most accurate, quick decision maker who could, push the ball down the seams. He wouldn't necessarily get it out to the sideline, but like up the seams to Colston and Graham, he would be very aggressive at 27, 28. And also he got benched when he was 23 or 24, I want to say, with the Chargers, came back, had a Pro Bowl season, was the comeback player of the year at 25. Like, he wasn't always Drew Brees, but he kind of like kept improving. That's who I was going to go with. I'm not saying he's going to be Drew Brees, but if we're questioning his arm strength, that's another guy.
Okay, so I'm doing an interview that people can go check out on YouTube from last year. I sat down with Willie Snead late in the year, and I'm like, Willie, give me your rundown on Brock, man. You're a receiver. You're an old head. You've been in this league for a long time. You've seen a bunch of guys, and we're losing our minds saying, man, look how great he is. But you guys know what's real and what's not real. You tell me what you think. What's real, what's not real with Brock? And he's like, man, he just reminds me every time I see him of Drew Brees. And this guy played with Drew Brees.
There you go.
So he sees Drew Brees comparisons.
That's fair.
I see Russell comparisons just because I just think that
he runs around like Russell.
And also Russell, it just felt like Russell pulled the Houdini thing so many times where it's like the Niners have him. They've got him cornered. No, he slipped out. And that's kind of what I see with.
And those are the two guys he compares himself to. He's like, I'm kind of like a combination between the two. I think he kind of runs like Russell, throws like Breeze, but that's heady stuff. Because the thing, even with Breeze, like let's take the arm strength thing away from Brock because it's early. It's hard to say if he has that kind of an arm. The durability thing, though, same with Trey, same with Jimmy. Like eventually, someone on this team needs to show they can play 16, 17 games a year because Breeze was doing that in San Diego. He did that on the Saints. Like he didn't miss games. He didn't have, I know he had the one shoulder surgery, but that was basically it for Drew Brees. He pretty much played, and he was playing when he was like 40. So that's the thing that all these quarterbacks have to show. Otherwise they're backups eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that Trey and Brock have totally in common is they both like to kind of show that they're tough guys that can take hits, but you don't want to do that in the NFL because the defenders are just
Carson Wentz did that.
Yeah, you just the defenders will win. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So you can't take on Isaiah Simmons. You have to run around. You can't run through. No quarterbacks run through. All quarterbacks run around. So it's
Josh Allen is the exception. He probably should stop. He probably should stop.
And he's 6'6", 230, and he does kind of send off those vibes like he can run over you. But like Trey tried to run over. Like my only fear with Trey, it was as far as health is he think he can run over guys like he did it at North Dakota. In North Dakota, those 1,100 yards, that 1,100-yard season, man, he ran over guys. I mean, he literally lowered the shoulder and ran over guys. And Brock the same way, Brock I'd rather have a quarterback that wasn't fearful over a quarterback that's staring down the rush and really fearful, but a little bit of fear can be a good thing.
Avoiding contact is a skill for a quarterback, and Russell Wilson was good at it. So was Drew Brees. Okay. Best case scenario for Sam Darnold. You got Kyle Shanahan talking about he's the best thrower in franchise history. Okay, let's be real here. What is the best if everything goes right for Sam the rest of his career? What are we looking at?
I think he's the 2023 equivalent of Steve DeBerg.
Ooh, wow!
I think he's.
I was going to say Alex Smith.
Well, but Alex Smith was. I mean, can he run like Alex Smith? Because Alex Smith maybe not. Really move. Alex Smith, I think of Danny Dimes like Alex Smith. But I think Sam Darnold is the best he could be. Would be like DeBerg in that he's big. He can take a hit. He's got a good arm. He's got stature. He can run the offense, but there's something mechanical. There's something slowish about his delivery. I don't think all those interceptions that from SC and so far in the league, they're not all just like, oh, I don't know what happened. No, he either has a hitch or he gives it away, he stares it down, but guys are breaking on his ball. And I just think that DeBerg always turned it over and he became a useful backup. But I think that's, if you said to me, what is Sam Darnold's ceiling? I would say he's a Steve DeBerg. He's an NFL quarterback for sure. Like he'll always be an NFL quarterback for sure. But he's not a starter. If he is your starter, you're looking to upgrade. But he's a solid NFL backup. That's what I see.
To me, that's like the reality of Sam Darnold. I would compare him to like Blaine Gabbert or something like that. But I'm trying to go like pie in the sky, best case scenario. Let me make the case for how he could be an Alex Smith type. Yeah, Alex Smith was faster than him.
Way smart too. Alex Smith was a super smart guy.
Super smart. I don't know if Sam Darnold was smart. They're both kind of quiet guys from Southern California who I think may have had a tough time leading a locker room at a young age. I got in the league early, and I think Darnold, he might fit this team finally. He's a little bit older. He may finally have come into his own. He's on a West Coast team. He's a West Coast guy. I don't think anyone's looking at him as being like weird. I think he fits in. And I don't know. I mean, all he needs to do is like stop turning the ball over. Like, because DeBerg would turn the ball over a lot. What they say about him, like he played just well enough to get you beat. Like he couldn't stop. Couldn't stop.
There's a lot of turnovers there.
He just couldn't stop. So I don't know if Darnold can stop and be a game manager who moves around a little bit. That's ultimately how Alex Smith salvaged his career. He didn't become elite, but he became, a smart safety first quarterback you could win with until you got to the playoffs.
I mean, here's DeBerg's career. He had 196 touchdowns. He had 204 interceptions.
Yeah, he played for a long time.
He did. He had double digit interceptions. One,
how do you throw that many
3,
picks and
4,
stick around
5,
that long?
6, 7,
Coaches
8,
must
9.
love you.
He had 10 years. He had 10 years of double-digit interceptions. He had 43 interceptions in 78 and 79 in the early days with the Niners. So the guy only threw 20 touchdowns in a season one time.
I think comparing him to Steve DeBerg is fair. Like, we're going to go real optimistic with Brock and Trey, but those guys have 12 combined career starts. It's fair to use your imagination. With Sam, man, you have a lot of data to go on. It's hard to unsee the last 5 years of Sam Darnold's career. And I know that's unfair, but I think he probably feels the same way deep down.
He's more mobile than DeBerg. He's definitely more mobile than DeBerg. Maybe Gerback. What do you think of Gerback? Could he be a Gerback?
God, he wasn't much better.
He wasn't much better. Gerback in his career was 40 wins, 30 losses, 59% completion, 99 touchdowns, 81 picks. That sounds very Sam Darnold-ish to me.
That's fair. Yeah, he had a nice arm. He threw hard for a West Coast quarterback. All right.
And bigger guys.
We'll give you Elvis Gerback. Elvis Gerback. Okay. Best case scenario. All right. Give me the best case scenario for Trey Lance. Finding a comparison for him has been very difficult. I got one, but this is just best case scenario. And I think I'll I don't know. I'm curious to see what you say, but it seems like saying Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. I don't know if that's even realistic in a best case scenario sense. Those guys are different.
I mean, that's so lofty, but
yeah,
I do. But Trey has an unbelievable skill set, so it has to be a lofty name. It can't be.
It does.
It can't be just like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who's athletic, but not. I mean, I think people have made a lot of bad comparisons, like Steve McNair. I don't think Steve McNair is a good comparison. I really don't. McNair didn't throw it all the same.
Yeah.
I guess I would say Mahomes is the guy that I thought of when I was advocating they should go draft him. I'm like, I thought I saw Mahomes. As far as what did I see with Mahomes? Mahomes really cares about football, really wanted to be good, had some rough edges that needed to be, worked out, needed to sit and watch for a while, got a redshirt year. But yeah, I see Mahomes from the standpoint of this. Mahomes is not a runner, but Mahomes, for a guy who's not a runner, he sure does ice an awful lot of games with 20 and 30-yard runs up the gut when nobody's looking, when you're playing man coverage at the end of games and everybody turns their eyes on Mahomes. There he goes. He did it in the Super Bowl. He's done it against the Niners. You get involved in a close game and all of a sudden you're covering Tyreek and all these receivers and you turn your head on him and he sees a lane and he takes it. So I think his skill set running wise reminds me a lot of Mahomes, because Mahomes is not a runner. I don't think Trey's a runner. As far as they're not Lamar, they're not Vic, they're not
Justin Fields.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not Anthony Richardson. No,
they're not Anthony Richardson. But they are the kinds of guys that can burn you with their legs.
They're mobile.
And I also think Trey is really smart, and I think Trey is really motivated. So I think I see a lot of Mahomes. But I'd have to think of, I haven't really thought of who's a good comp. It would have to be somebody who's got athleticism, but is very, very motivated to get better and smart. And like,
I got a name.
Who do you got?
Andrew Luck. Now, Andrew Luck came into the league. He was the number one pick. He was a finished product. He was rookie of the year. No, he wasn't the rookie of the year, but he was in the playoffs his first year. He's also 23. He also played a couple years at Stanford. He was on a really good team at Stanford. He was under center. He was playing like a pro. I mean, remember Trey was setting his own protections in college. Trey, I mean, he had the pandemic, and then he got redshirted, and then he got hurt. So it hasn't been the same path, but now he's 23. Luck was 23 his first year in the Colts. So I'm not saying he's going to be that good, but I'm not saying he won't either. I think best case scenario, he's that type of a guy who is essentially a pocket quarterback, but he can throw in the move, he can scramble, and he might take too many hits, if we're being honest. Andrew Luck took too many hits.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not a bad one for sure.
Andrew Luck was great, though, from immediately.
Yeah, and he was an incredible processor and this and that, but I think Trey has potential to be too. I would say maybe McNabb, kind of a bigger version of McNabb, because McNabb was not a runner. He was a pocket passer, but he also was tough. Yeah. McNabb never was sitting there The one thing you haven't seen from Trey at all, I've never seen it on his North Dakota State film, and I've never seen it in his brief time with the Niners. There's no fear. He's not standing in the pocket worried about taking a hit. He's not. Yeah. And McNabb wasn't either. McNabb could take hits and not be fearful.
Yeah.
So to me, that's not a bad one.
Interesting. Also, McNabb didn't have what you would call like good throwing mechanics. Like he was all over the place. He threw differently every time. He didn't have the highest completion percentage, but he was a playmaker in a lot of ways.
And the guys liked him. And they played hard.
Leader.
That might be a good one. And McNabb had a good arm, but it wasn't like he had the greatest arm of all time. He just had a very good arm. And I would say Trey doesn't have the greatest arm, but he's got a very good power arm.
McNabb, you're right. I always felt he had like a beer gut, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I ever tell you the time in spring training, McNabb was sitting at the next table. We were watching Syracuse against Kansas in a game, and we were at spring training. It was an NC2A tournament game, and one of my buddies had a Syracuse jersey on, and McNabb comes over, goes, "Hey man, you're a Syracuse fan?" My buddy's like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Waitress," and he's like, put this table on my tab. Dude, we drank for the entire night for free on Donovan
That's
McNabb
amazing.
because one of my buddies had a Syracuse lacrosse jersey on.
Nice. Did you guys have a beer with him?
Yeah, he sat there right there at the next table. He's a super cool guy. Yeah, and McNabb was really cool. But I mean, our bill was like $450 or something like that, and he covered it. He didn't even know us.
Yeah. He's one of these guys who probably would have had a Super Bowl ring if not for Tom Brady. If Tom Brady didn't exist, McNabb would probably be a champion. He had his time. He was really good. He went to like 4 or 5 NFC Championship games, I want to say. I mean, was he an MVP?
McNabb, I would say
was he
no.
a co-MVP one year with McNair? I forget. I don't know.
I would
a while
guess
ago.
No. But I'll say this: McNabb was a good player from the pocket, but also a good player off schedule, and a guy who could, if you gave him a lane, he could take it and burn you. And football was super important to him. Wasn't like he was doing all these other things. He wasn't a part-time football player, part-time this and that. He was all in. So, McNabb, I think, Trey's bigger than
Who was
McNabb.
better? Who was better? Prime. McNabb or Garcia?
I'd say McNabb.
I'd say Garcia.
Garcia did go to,
I think he was more accurate.
2 Pro Bowls? 2 Pro Bowls? 3 Pro Bowls?
4.
4? 4 Pro Bowls?
4. Including one on the freaking Eagles.
How many for McNabb, I wonder?
Let's see. I don't know. I thought those two, it was like back then it was those two and
McNabb went to a Super Bowl.
Hell yeah, he did. It's true. He had some good defenses too. Okay, McNabb went to 6.
Yeah.
6.
He was
Great
98, 62, and 1, McNabb.
Woo!
But only 59% completion percentage. It wasn't like he completed a high percentage, but he played a long time. Seriously.
Yeah. My dad used to tell me that Bill Walsh would call him up on the phone and like complain about McNabb. Like, look at his mechanics. He throws differently. I don't think Walsh liked Garcia. That was his guy. I don't think Walsh liked McNabb as much, but maybe that was just a personal preference. I don't know.
The one thing about
Garcia was
McNabb
his guy.
is I don't think McNabb had a single season in his entire career where he threw more picks. One season, 15 to 14. He had every other season of his career, he threw more touchdowns than picks.
He went 11-5 at 24, and he just won a ton of games through his 20s. Like, they were tough to beat for like 5 years in a row. All right, let's get to the drama. A lot of people want to know, so let's get into it. At the same time, it's drama is old news. Brother Bob says, Larry, don't you think you owe Ryan an apology? Ironic, you rudely called him uninformed, which you quickly took offense to being called recently. And then he writes, pig in a pickle. That's pretty funny.
I like Ryan, but I think when you say, okay, I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but there's ways to say things. And if you want to say, you know what, Brock Purdy's arm was just middling before, and now he's coming off of surgery, and I don't know what it's going to be, and it could be that he's a dink and dunk quarterback. That comment, in my opinion, is fine. But when he did it for weeks, and people are like, wow, it's suddenly this huge thing. It's a huge thing because I called it out as bullshit. I basically said this is bullshit. He's not a dink and dunk guy. If you look up dink and dunk, it will say it's a disparaging comment. It's disparaging.
Where does it say that?
If you just type in dink or dunk and dink and dunk, it says it's a disparaging comment.
Look. Instead of putting Larry on the defensive,
disparaging comment.
I don't want to have to like mediate a fight between two guys that I do shows with because I'm not involved. So instead of putting Larry on the defensive, I'm just going to say that I feel like these two grown-ups can work it out. Is that fair to say?
He blocked
two grown-ups.
He blocked
I've blocked people before. I've unfollowed Jackhammer 4 or 5 times. I've unfollowed Jackhammer 4 or 5 times. Shit happens, man. It's sports. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I don't care about mixing it up, but I just don't. I like Ryan, and I had him on my channel because I saw him on your channel, and I thought he was intelligent and interesting and had good commentary. And so I had him on my channel, and I didn't block him, but he blocked me. I like to comment that a guy said, "Oh, I get all my knowledge. I get all my good NFL knowledge from Rockland-based mortgage lenders," and I hit like. But that's after he had liked like 10 or 12 different comments from people ripping on me. And I just felt like it wasn't that big a deal. And then once I did that, he like blocked me. I got no problem with him. You know, I'd love to show up at his doorstep in Rockland and just be like, bro, come on, let's go have a
whatever.
beer.
It just
Let's
seems
go
like,
have a beer. Let's go talk it out.
Yeah.
But
let's
but
bro
I
out.
don't. But I
or,
don't.
Or just don't work together anymore. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. But
I
what I will say is,
I don't see.
it was good television.
Yeah,
it was
I don't
good
like
television.
throwing. I got too heated. I'll say this: I shouldn't have got that heated. One, because I shouldn't have got that heated. Period. Just I shouldn't get that heated.
That's fair.
But fair. As far as do I owe him an apology? He said Brock was a dink and dunk passer.
We don't have to redo the whole thing.
I just
do you
don't
owe him an apology? No.
I don't think I owe him an apology.
Would it be cool if you guys had a beer? I think that would be cool. But at the same time,
like to have a beer. I'd like to have a beer with Ryan, and I'd like to talk it out. Things. And
it's no big deal.
And
I'll say sports opinion.
I got to me sports. There's sports, and then there's life. And as far as life goes, I really like Ryan. And as far as sports goes, we disagreed. But I would love it.
And you got heated. And that's kind of what's fun about sports debates sometimes is it can get you angry and you don't even know why you're mad. It's sports stuff. Again, I'm telling you, I've unfollowed. I've gotten so mad at Jack, but I do a show with Jack every once a week. I'm cool with Jack. It's just the way it goes.
And
it's just the way it goes.
I don't
hope so too.
I don't dislike Ryan. I like Ryan. I don't have anybody on my channel. I know you're the same way. I don't have anybody on my channel I don't like. So
explosive disagreements are fun. We should have more of them.
And the fact that I had him on is because I like him, and I would have him on again. And
see, I'm the peacemaker.
Ryan, let me just say this, Ryan, if you're watching, I didn't mean to attack your credibility.
There you go.
But I was mad.
I like that.
I was mad that you were saying that
there you go.
In my world, dink and dunk is what you say when you're saying a guy cannot do it. He cannot do it.
And that's the problem with terms that there are no official. That's the problem with terms where there's no official definition. It's like, well, what does that mean to you? To some people, that's like fighting words. It's like, that's my quarterback you're talking about. Shut up. I get it. Anyway, I'm glad that you used iMessages and said it made me feel this way. I felt angry. I got more emotional than I needed to be. That's all. That's how you get through things. Love seeing bros being bros and working stuff out because that's what bros do.
I'd like to get together with Ryan at Pig in a Pickle on
It'll happen.
And
I bet $2 it'll happen.
We will work that. We will work this out. I'd like
to. Ryan and
I'd like to work it out because I do like Ryan. I advocate that his channel is a good channel. I'm a subscriber to his channel. And you know, I got.
He didn't say anything about your family. You didn't say anything about his family.
No,
I mean Brock's not related to you. Trey's not related to him. You guys will work it out.
I'm embarrassed that I got as heated as I got. I'll say that. And I shouldn't have. He felt like I was questioning his credibility. I felt like I was just calling out the idea that Brock is a limited player. I don't think he's a limited player. I think he proved it. So we'll see.
Well, look, I think I'm not speaking for Ryan, but I'm sure he appreciates you saying all that. And again, it's over. Moving on. Ryan Jennifer Wood said, been waiting all day for OTA recap. LOL. Question, can I attend tight end you or is it players only? Players only. I wasn't there. No media there. Me and Larry will be there tomorrow. Sorry about that. But what I wanted to say was tight end you. This is big. I don't want to get into it too much, but the whole thing of Trey going, remember last year, he essentially ghosted Kittle. Kittle was saying, man, this guy's like Josh Allen. Remember that? He was going on busing with the boys. This guy's like Josh Allen. He's going to tight end you. Didn't go. That didn't help things probably. And now he probably had a reason, but I bet you he shows up this year, Larry. I bet you he shows up.
He's trying to ingratiate himself. Hell yeah. Trey needs Kittle. He needs Kittle. All quarterbacks need your tight end. You got to have good rapport with your guys. So I don't think it means everything, but I think it's good. I'd rather see Trey there than not. And at the end of the day, Grant, Trey needs reps, and he needs probably more reps than he's going to get in this camp. So if he can get a few reps this summer between now and camp at tight end U and maybe have a beer or two with Kittle, and they can get on the same page and be,
needs to happen.
You know, everything's really copacetic between those two. I think that's advantage Niners. So I think it's great. I really do.
And from Kittle's perspective, in his defense, I've been hard on him with the whole quarterback thing. if I invited Trey Lance to my thing and he didn't come, I would have thoughts. It's like, dude, I want Jimmy to be the quarterback. I'm trying to like you, and you do this. Like, what are you doing, man? So I don't know if that's what happened, but this is hope. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Prediction: I bet you he's there at tight end U. Joey Mellons, I just put it in the chat. And sorry I didn't put it last time. Stephen Pryor, breaking news: Tom Brady going to be minority Raiders owner. Cool. Interesting team to invest in.
There, Mark Davis is going all in on this whole ex-New England group, right? Because in the GM, an ex-New England guy, and McDaniels is an ex-New England guy, and good for Brady. He's an owner.
Fish and Chip says, out of chat retirement. Shut up about the quarterbacks. You all know, like me, nothing. It's all for clicks and sponsored segments. You're making it not watchable. In our defense, I think we went like 35 minutes in the show without talking about a quarterback.
And it's not all for clicks. I mean, people care about this. And the 49ers, I mean, God knows, the 49ers, between what John has said, what Kyle has said, what Rappaport has reported, he's an NFL Network reporter, what people have said left and right, there's all kinds of wrinkles and interesting subplots. And let's be honest, guys, it's May the 22nd, and we don't know who of three quarterbacks who's going to be quarterbacking the Niners. And let's be honest about this. The 49ers are a major story if their quarterback was established and set. The fact that they are a Super Bowl contender, in some cases a Super Bowl borderline favorite, that doesn't know who's going to be the quarterback, that's the biggest story in the NFL.
Right, they're going to have an offseason quarterback competition, and it's going to be like The Bachelor. Like they have to have talents and dress up, and then one of them's going to get a rose at the end, and he's going to be the starting quarterback.
It would be awesome. It'd be awesome if each quarterback answered questions the way that Miss Universe does.
That would be so funny.
Brock Purdy's out there, and I want 49er world peace.
Yeah.
Yes,
or remember that show, like To Tell the Truth, where you'd have like three people claiming to be the same person, but two of them are lying, and you had to ask questions to see which one was lying. Like,
right.
Who's the franchise quarterback? And like two of them are imposters. One of them is going to stand. I don't know. But it is like a game show. Nathan says, you guys are comparing Lance to Mahomes and Elway. He reminds me of Colin Kaepernick. What is a dank and dunk? He doesn't really remind me of Kaepernick. Kaepernick was like the pistol zone read god. Like that guy was unstoppable on the zone read. Lance has been pretty stoppable on his own read. So he's more of a scrambler, in my opinion. Dank and dunk. I don't know what a dank and dunk type quarterback. You tell me what a dank and dunk type quarterback is.
I don't know about the dank, but the dunk. Kaepernick. I
know all about the dank.
Yeah. Kaepernick. I don't.
No.
That's a good one, man. I don't know. I don't love the Kaepernick comparison. I don't. I think Trey's got way more upside as a passer. But I will say this. The one thing that is a good comparison is that Kaepernick did have arm strength, foot speed, and needed
very smart too.
Needed an intelligence. He needed work on his touch and his timing and really.
But he was resistant.
He didn't
really want to do it.
Developed.
He didn't want to do it. He wasn't going out working with Patrick Mahomes. Well, he's not older than Patrick Mahomes, but you know what I'm saying? He worked with Kurt Warner, who like showed up once a week and was on like the black or the whiteboard. Like it wasn't, I don't think he was as motivated. I think he was more motivated to prove that he could do it his way.
The most frustrating part about Kaepernick to me is that he was a quarterback that had a lot of strengths, but his strengths were not touch or timing. And yet in the Super Bowl, Jim Harbaugh relied on him to throw a touch timing fade
over and over
to Crabtree instead of just running Kaepernick.
Just running the ball or Gore.
That was the one. That was the one that got away right there.
That was bad. It really was. They were there. They were on the doorstep. Antonio
it wasn't the Chiefs game. It was the Ravens game.
Yeah. Antonio Espindola says both quarterbacks need time at the end of the day. Yeah, man. It's really easier to play. That's the thing. Like the Rams got rid of Jared Goff, won a Super Bowl, but now Goff is in Detroit playing really well because they just gave him an offensive line. They got a nice little quarterback over there, and they just gave him a great offensive line. Now he's a lot better at home than on the road. Did you see that split for Goff? Like he's terrible on the road. What is that?
I liked Goff more than I like Jimmy. I don't know, but I always like people were when they
Goff has a real big arm.
Goff's got a big arm. I think Goff, but the only thing about Goff is I don't think Goff really wants to take any hits. So if you can
Soft.
get a couple good
Soft.
hits in the first half on Goff, I think he's kind of looking around the whole game.
Yeah, me too. I would if I play football, but I don't. Well, Fish and Chip says back to retirement. I'm sorry. How are you asking us not to talk about the quarterback, man? How you gonna do that? I got bills to pay. Also, look, it's not like what I want to talk about. It's what fans want to talk about. What am I supposed to do? Not talk about what fans want to talk about? I am here to serve. Brady is once again Josh McDaniels' boss.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is that true? Everyone says that Josh McDaniels listens to no one and takes no input from players, and that's why no one has anything nice to say about him. That's what the book on McDaniels is. He acts like he's Bill Belichick, but he's not Bill Belichick. That's the thing about Josh McDaniels. Not Bill. Wants to be Bill.
What a weird situation, too. They had an all-world tight end, and they just traded him. Get out of here. Then they added Michael Mayer. So I actually think the Raiders had a really good draft. We shall see about the Raiders, but
yeah, we'll see about Tyree Wilson.
Tyree Wilson.
One more exactly, Larry. We don't know. We don't know. What do we know on May 22nd? What are we supposed to talk about when OTA starts tomorrow? You want to talk about special teams? Let's talk about special teams. They're special. So good. Could they be even better this year? Maybe. Jake Moody. Boom. There it is. We did it.
There might be some guy on offense or defense that we are talking about tomorrow. That's what I love about the OTAs is that we're going to, like,
he's going to be a guy.
I remember looking at you in last May going, man, I kind of think Purdy looks pretty good. But I mean, there's always 3 or 4 guys that are like, what? Look at that guy, good or bad. So the guy that I thought was like, whoa, at rookie minicamp was the North Dakota State D lineman. That's the guy I'm eager to see this summer.
I'm eager to see Marcelino McCrary ball.
Yeah. I just saw him, by the way, at a dinner for the guardsmen on Wednesday or whatever it was from last week. Grant, this guy's, even more jacked than he was last year. And
Ewan has got a long way to go before he looks like that.
Marcelino, I think I don't know for sure, but I think there's a chance he's an upgrade from Aziz.
Oh, calling a shot. Hero Winchester says, I was at the kickball game and Trey was awesome. Talked to fans, teammates, signed merch. Brock wasn't having it. Shook his head at fans, wanting signatures, and was on his own until cameras were on him. Wow. Brock, Trey, people are watching.
Brock shined everybody at the softball game, at the kickball game.
Yikes, man. That's crazy. I feel like people have stories like that from like their childhood, like Ronnie Lott and Jerry Rice. Like, he signed my ball or he didn't.
Invariably. This guy's a good guy. He signed my ball. This guy's a bad guy. He didn't sign my ball.
Damn, Brock. Big time people have a little bit of success and all of a sudden big league people over here. Brock. That's interesting. You wonder, like, if Trey wins 8 games in a row, is he going to start big leaguing people or is this what he's like? I don't know. Interesting.
I think the incredible part about this is that they have two really spectacular people. Both those guys are the kinds of guys that that NFL players will follow. It's just a matter of who can play and who gets a chance to play and how do they play. But I mean, as far as just like the person, like one of the things Spencer Wagey told me, he's like, man, you could be around Trey for 5 minutes and you would know he's the leader. Yeah. He's like, he's that kind of a leader.
But isn't it kind of interesting how like just where we are in time and space, what's happened that anytime Brock goes somewhere, he gets a standing ovation. You go to a Giants game, like people just start throwing roses at his feet, like "Thank you, Brock, thank you, Brock," because it was incredible what he did as a rookie. And Trey is like, "Oh yeah, that's Trey Lance. I remember he's on the team." Like it may not be like that in 6 months. In 6 months, maybe people are gonna be having standing ovations for Trey Lance, but right now it's kind of interesting. Like Brock Purdy's over here like kissing babies, like waving to people like he's the new king of England, and Trey's like rehabilitating his image and so not that he did anything to mess it up, but
Niners fans are just hard.
Like Trey went to that A's game. Like, well, first of all, no one goes to A's games, but he was like anonymous at the freaking thing.
I just think that the Niner fans are so hungry, for who's the future, and they'll get behind anybody that the team is behind. But
sure.
But right now, everybody's kind of who knows? People don't know what to do.
That's true. Couple more. It's QB nausea. Head coach, you should be at. Head coach. Sure, but it's not that much we can talk about a head coach today. He has to do something. But I'll be watching him tomorrow. I have my eyes all over Kyle Shanahan. If he does something wrong, I'm putting him in my not so good section. I will. I'm not afraid to put a coach in a not so good section in the middle of May. I'll do it. Nick Fan 34 says, if Trey has shown all this improvement, as they say, he has and working out with Mahomes, wouldn't you say start Trey week 1 and see what he can do? Also, Grant, are you going to week 1 in Pittsburgh? Yeah. But I mean, also if Brock is 100% healthy, then he didn't lose the job. So I mean, it's complicated. You don't start Darnold under any circumstances unless Trey is a complete disaster.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, is Brock going to be healthy for? I mean, Shanahan made it seem like there's a chance Brock's healthy by training camp. Is Brock going to be there week 1? If not, I mean, I'll say this: week 1 on paper sets up as a loss. The Steelers. I mean, I looked it up. They're 8-1 in the last 9 home openers when it comes in week 1, and they're like 15-2 at Heinz Field in the first game of the year. So I mean, get ready for TJ Watt. Get ready for a whole lot of pressure on the quarterback. Get ready for that game to be tough.
A whole lot of different fronts. You know, the Niners could talk about that sometimes. Like, well, they showed different fronts than we prepared for. Like, a whole lot of fronts, a whole lot of pressures. They can overwhelm you with scheme on defense. And the Niners offense isn't necessarily really equipped to handle that early in the season, or at least they haven't been. So that'll be interesting.
Yep, no question. And the whole thing is that's going to be a tough game for anybody, whether it be Trey, Sam, Brock. That's just going to be a tough game. So I don't know.
Who's a painful game.
Yeah, I mean, you better get rid of the ball. You better get rid of the ball. I mean, that's going to be a tough. That week 1 is going to be tough. Week 1's going to be tough for anybody. So we'll see. I don't know what we're going to see there. I don't know if we're going to see Brock at all in the preseason.
Also, week 1, it often goes like some team beats itself. You know what I mean? Like in Chicago last year, Niners just straight up beat themselves with those Dante Pettis scoring a busted play. Like, is that going to happen in Pittsburgh?
Broken plays. Greenlaw had 2 penalties of late hits.
Debo fumbled in the red zone. Like it just and then straight up beat themselves.
The Niners still would have won that game with Trey on the road if when
there wasn't a torrential downpour in the fourth quarter.
Because when the Niners needed to really execute offensively and pass, it wasn't passing or execution weather, and it was huge factor.
That's right. All right, well, that's the show. Thanks for watching. We previewed. We talked about hypotheticals. We tried to be positive, but all that shit is over with. Starting tomorrow. Tomorrow is just what we see on the field. What they did in the past doesn't matter. They're all on the same playing field. Literally, tomorrow. It's going to be really fun to watch. I can't wait. I'll see you there.
I'll see you there. What's is it just one day of media?
Yeah.
Or is it really?
Unfortunately. I think they practice Monday, Tuesday, Thursday this week, and we get Tuesday. That's how OTAs are. They could give us all 3 days. The minimum is a day, and NFL teams often choose the minimum. Mini camp is the whole shebang bang, and that's in about 3 weeks. So
I'll be there early. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
See you there. Thanks for watching, everyone.